Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again. In this YouTube NFL segment, I'm going to be talking a little bit about some things I'm seeing and going to forecast a little bit as far as the upcoming 2019-2020 NFL season. This is a little bit some early thoughts. This is not like a great prediction segment or anything, but I'm just going to share some early thoughts and some teams of interest that I think could very well be elite, might go to the Super Bowl, and talk about some other teams and where I think they're going to land as far as their positioning in general, whether they may make the playoffs or not, or what record I think they're going to have. So anyway. Well, the first thing I want to talk about, we're going to see if the Kansas City Chiefs last season, if they were an aberration or a fluke. Now, they had obviously a phenomenal offense led by Patrick Mahomes. And, of course, as many of you may know, they did acquire a new defensive coordinator. And also augmenting their defense, they should be at least a little bit better defensively. Now, the team did go 13-3 last season. Of course, many of you may know they went to the AFC title game, did everything but defeat the eventual Super Bowl champion New England Patriots. I'm sure they will be back and they will be an elite team. They'll definitely be somebody to be reckoned with. The Patriots, they could talk about, well, Max Kellerman talks about Tom Brady falling off the cliff and his skills, going to be deteriorating. Well, the numbers may have been a little bit down last season overall in contrast to the season before. You got to check on that and make sure. But I believe, the basic numbers were. But the thing with Tom Brady is he still gets it done in the clutch. He gets it done when he has to. They may have lost Rob Gronkowski this past offseason, but they're going to retain Julian Edelman. I think, the Patriots, they're like one of those perennial contenders, and they don't really rebuild. They reload. And I think Tom Brady will be good enough this season, and the defense will just be adequate enough to do what it has to do. They obviously had a stellar performance, I believe, holding Los Angeles Rams, I think, last season, the Super Bowl, like 3 points or something. And you don't have to play great all the time. They just play great when they have to. Now, in the NFC, I think an intriguing team is the Chicago Bears, and I look at them, and you look at what they did last season. They were a very big surprise, and now they've added, I believe, Cordell Patterson to the mix, and perhaps their running game will get bolstered a little bit because of this. And I see the Bears as a team that might conceivably come out of the NFC this season. I don't know if that was necessarily an aberration. One website, I believe, had Chicago as a team that could be in regression this season, but we're going to see what happens with them. That's going to be a team definitely to keep an eye on this season. And thing about it is, now you look at a team like the Seattle Seahawks, they're a little bit dismantled with their team. Are they going to come back and be one of the better teams again? I think that remains to be seen. I don't know if that's actually going to happen or not. I believe they lost some defensive players, and for me, Richard Sherman, and you look at this, and just when you look at this team, it's probably not one that's going to make the postseason. But you look at, I want to talk about another team of I thought was a little bit interesting, is my New York Jets. Now, the New York Jets, it's already, you already have some compelling storylines for the Jets. Well, one thing, of course, as many of you may know, they acquired Le'Veon Bell, standout running back. He may have missed one season, but I think he's good enough for the Jets to get at least maybe 1,500 total yards between receiving and rushing. Now, the coach, Adam Gase, had reportedly made some comments saying, which came across as, I guess, derogatory, and that he didn't think that the running back was worth the amount of money that was paid for. Of course, now he vehemently denies it. He said something like, "It's news to me." But if that is what Gacy said, it's obviously not a good way to start off your tenure with the Jets. Adam Gase, I think, was like a 500 coach during his tenure with the Miami Dolphins. Stephen A. Smith actually had some choice words to say about Adam Gase. Some of you may remember when he was when he was at that Jets press conference, I believe, introducing him as the New York Jets head coach. What happened? His eyes were kind of all over, and Stephen A. Smith made a comment about it, stating something that he looked high, that Adam Gase looked high. Now, I don't know if that was the case. I think Adam Gase, what the reality was, is that he was really just so mesmerized by the New York media. The New York media can be a little bit intimidating. You're getting bombarded with flash bulbs and reporters, and it's really a lot more intense than it is in even other major cities. And you're making a transition from Miami to New York. It can be a big one. And I'm from New York originally, as some of you may know. And there's a time I went into the city, and I'm from Long Island originally. I went to New York City, and it was just such a completely different atmosphere. It can almost look imposing when you see so many people walking down the streets. You see all these bright lights in a tremendous city. It just really, it's like it is the city essentially that never sleeps. It is something to behold. It's something that is very vastly different than other cities, and many of you may know that have actually gone there. But anyway, getting back again to some early thoughts regarding this NFL season, another thing I'd like to talk about, another compelling storyline, I think, is going to be how Antonio Brown is going to be with the Raiders this season. And he's already, he seems like he's embroiled in one controversial situation after another. Some of you may have seen he at least had one tirade when he was with the Pittsburgh Steelers, and he had challenged, was ESPN, I guess, an analyst commentator, Ryan Clark. He challenged him to a physical confrontation through something he tweeted on Twitter. And the thing about what's going to be interesting with the Raiders and Antonio Brown this season, and the situation with John Gruden there. Now, John Gruden's pretty cool customer, seems pretty composed to me. He seems like he has, even though they had a bad record last season, he does try to stay in control of certain situations. He seems like someone that's got a lot of people skills, and he's going to do whatever he can for him and Brown to work there. But the thing about it is, let's say hypothetically the Oakland Raiders start off at like 1-4 and 1-5, and they and the thing about them is, how is Antonio Brown going to react? Is he going to revolt? Is he going to go on a little tirade? Is he going to go on a rant? And how is John Gruden going to handle this when this comes? Is Antonio Brown not going to play as hard when this happens? And these are some things that, I find this very interesting. I think that's another thing, obviously, to keep an eye on as far as this upcoming 2019-2020 NFL season goes. So, that's pretty much it. I'm trying to see if there's any other teams to really think about this time. We'll see with the 49ers, what's going to happen with them, with Jimmy Garoppolo. Will he be healthy the whole season, and what's going to become of them? Can the 49ers actually make the playoffs and end what's been a little bit of a drought for them? As far as that goes, that's obviously going to remain to be seen, of course. And the thing about it too is, you look at a lot of these, teams. I don't know if there's really going to be too many surprises this season in the NFL. The Raiders may be one of the most improved teams, but I'm not 100% sold that they're going to make the postseason. The Cleveland Browns are going to be a team to keep an eye on. Are they going to, Kareem Hunt, I don't think he's going to be there for the whole season. They might have made some major acquisitions in terms of players, and the fact that they played very well last season, at least compared to what they have done previously, they obviously have really upgraded in terms of their caliber and what they can do. And I think a lot of people believe the Cleveland Browns are for real and legitimate threat to win that AFC North Division. But at the same time, They might even be a consensus favorite to win it. I just don't. I think it's one of those things that we still have to see it to believe it. It's just hard for me to envision Cleveland Browns NFC North title champions. I'm kind of thinking the Steelers are still going to somehow do this. I think they're going to improvise somehow without Antonio Brown and Le'Veon Bell. And to them, it might actually, as opposed to being to their detriment, maybe it's beneficial to them in some ways without having Bell and Antonio Brown there, because there's less dissension and discord and less distractions. They could get somebody there. I don't know if Connor is still going to be with the Steelers as a running back goes, but I know he performed very well last season. If he is still with them and he plays well, that's really Le'Veon Bell's departure won't be as significant as a lot of people think. And one other thing I wanted to get at, going back to my New York Jets, the last time I had looked, it was like ESPN had the Jets over/under win total at 7.5 wins. Now, as much as a Jets fan I am, and I don't like to be pessimistic or negative about my teams, but when you're talking about, you're doing prediction videos and you're talking about sports, you want to be objective, and emotion has to be eliminated, eradicated from the equation. I'm going to go, actually, I'll say go out on a limb facetiously and say it'll be under 7.5 wins for the New York Jets. I see them like at 6-10. And going back to what I talked about before, right now I'm kind of looking at Chiefs and maybe the Bears in the Super Bowl. That's who I like right now as far as those teams go. We'll see if the Green Bay Packers have any magic left next season with Aaron Rodgers. If that'll be a year where they'll be rejuvenated and they'll come back into playoff form. If Aaron Rodgers is 100% or close to 100% healthy, Tom Brady may be the better overall quarterback than Rodgers, but Rodgers, for whatever reason, it seems like his value to his team is so immense, it could very well be the best in as far as any player to any team goes right now. And anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube NFL segment for some early thoughts on the upcoming 2019-2020 NFL season. And until next time, people, Edwin Learnard saying, stay well.